at the forefront of politics.
Our enemy is Trump. He is the enemy. We got to unite. If we're not a united party, we lose to Trump.
On the front lines of activism.
There's certain fights, if we don't engage, they win. This is a fundamental question of who we are.
And delivering your daily dose of comedy.
Donald Trump, when he had his physical, they had his blood pressure, and mine is higher than his. Oh. And the irony is mine is higher because of him.
From the blue wave.
We flipped. Enough seats to take control of the House. We control the House.
To 2020 and beyond. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters. Wednesday, September 25th. I'm Dean Obeidallah. As always, your MBFF, at least your wannabe needy MBFF. On Twitter at Dean Obeidallah, Facebook.com/Dean of Radio. And I tell you this, I'm going to go on a limb here and tell you this. I think there'll be a time in the future when historians will look back and say September 25th, 2019, which is today, marked the beginning of the end of the Trump presidency. That's how damning this phone call memorandum, it's not a transcript, memorandum was. I have to be honest with you. I never thought it could be as bad as it is in this memo. I might call it a transcript. That's an accent. It is not a written transcript. This is a memo. This is one generated by the Trump regime, and it's still horrible for Trump. It is, I am not kidding. It is far worse than I thought it was going to be. And I'm not alone in that. There are countless former federal prosecutors on TV and on Twitter making the exact same point. There are crimes. There's clearly an impeachable offense. Just in this memo, not even the transcript, the memo, you've got a crime of Federal Election Commission knowing and willfully violating Federal Election Commission laws. That's a felony. And you've got abuse of power, which was the third article of impeachment against Richard Nixon. It's also been used against others, judges. It's abuse of power. While not a crime, it is clearly impeachable. And there are other potential crimes, such as bribery or extortion. We can talk about them later. A lot going on. So let's play a game. Let's play a game called Anatomy of a Crime. Crimes, probably. But Anatomy of a Crime. Let's just lay it out here. And before we talk about the memo of the phone call, let's take a step back. I always say this. Take a big picture of this. When you're looking at the credibility of an argument, if you're looking at the credibility of a person, just looking at it very narrowly doesn't help as much. Looking at a broad picture, looking at the circumstances that lead up to this moment helps so much in understanding what is more credible, what's more plausible, and what's more incredible or unlikely. In this scenario, to me, let's take a big step back. We know one thing. July 25th, 2019, that's the day Donald Trump called the president of Ukraine, Zelensky. Called him up on that day. Why did he call him up on that day? It's not the day he won election. Zelensky won in April. Trump already had called Zelensky in April. This was over 3 days after an internal parliamentary election in the country of the Ukraine. Why would the president of the United States call to congratulate a guy who is the president of a country of 40 million people, it's not a big country at all, slightly bigger than California, and call up that leader to congratulate it on an internal election? 3 days later, not the next day, not 2 days later, 3 days later. Why would he do that? And let's look at the days surrounding it. It might help us all, I think, come to an understanding of this. At least it helped me. July 25th is the day of the phone call. What else happened July 25th? Fox News came out with a poll that day showing Donald Trump trailing Joe Biden by 10 points. You might recall, this is the poll that made Donald Trump go on Twitter and lash out against the poll. He publicly slammed Fox News for this poll. That was July 25th, folks. So Donald Trump sees the poll, sees he's trailing Joe Biden by 10, one of the biggest leads against an incumbent president at this point ever. And he's concerned about that. Secondly, July 24th, the day before, Robert Mueller testifies. All the feedback, all the media narrative is he did not add much more. Democrats were not coming out going, well, we got to start impeachment. It said it was sort of the opposite. Well, there was no smoking gun. Mueller wasn't that great as a testifier. So you've got Donald Trump on July 25th. Concerned about Biden. He feels like the cloud of Mueller is lifted, and he calls up the president of the Ukraine. And that's where we are. And with that in mind, let's go through some of it. And I will not read large swaths. I'll read a few to give you a a flavor of what is in the memorandum today about this conversation. Again, this memo was drafted by the Trump administration, and it is still horrible for him. I can only imagine what they left out. I can't even contemplate what they left out. And there's no audio recording. I wish we had one. At least we don't know of any audio recording. So the conversation, according to the memo, begins with Trump just congratulating Zelensky. Congratulations on a great victory. We all watched from the U.S. You did a terrific job. Zelensky thanks him. I'm not sure why Trump was following internally the Ukraine election that closely, but he was. Trump says, and this is very interesting, right away. And by the way, the entire conversation, folks, is a matter of minutes. Is it about trade, national security issues? No. It's about Trump wanting to get help from the Ukrainian government to help get dirt on Joe Biden. That's all it's about. So let's go through some of it. I'll read a little bit here and there. Try not to make it. I'll try to do different voices. No, I won't do the accent. Maybe I'll try a Trump impression here and there. But Trump says, after the thanks, I will say we do a lot for the Ukraine. We spend a lot of effort and a lot of time, much more than European countries are doing. Hashtag losers. No, he didn't say hashtag losers, but everything is true. We're helping you more than them. Germany does almost nothing for you. This is literally what's in this transcript. I'm not kidding, a memo. And all they do is talk. And I think there's something you should really ask them about. You know, when I was speaking to Angela Merkel, she talks Ukraine, but she doesn't do anything at all. And a lot of European countries are the same way. They think, do something, but they don't. But you want to look at the United States. We've been very good to the Ukraine. And then he adds, I wouldn't say that it's reciprocal necessary because things are happening that are not good. But the United States has been very good to the Ukraine. This is really in the memo. This is, if it sounds like something from like Goodfellas or Donnie Brasco, you're right, because that's what it is. Because you know exactly what's happening. I couldn't believe, I'm not joking, I cannot believe this conversation began with him going, we've done so much for you, but you didn't reciprocate. That's okay, though. It's okay, because it's okay. So you know where you're going. You know you're going to an ask. Because I'm like, I couldn't believe that. I'm like, he can't be this ham-handed. He cannot be over the top. It's like a script from a bad B mafia movie. But he is. So he goes on. Zelensky goes, in response to all these great things America does, Zelensky goes, yes, I'm not going to do an impression of Ukrainian. I can't. It just sound horrible. Yes, you're absolutely right. No, I can't do that. That's just horrible. I can do like one. I can do an Arabic guy. No. Lauren and Matt are imploring me not to do that. All right, Zelensky says, yes, you are absolutely right. Not only 100%, but actually 100%. I am very grateful to you that because the United States is doing quite a lot for the Ukraine. Now, adding at the end, this is actually important, I would also like to thank you for your great support in the area of defense. We are ready to continue to cooperate for the next step specifically, and we are ready to buy more javelins from the United States for defense purposes. Javelins, by the way, are American-made anti-tank missiles that we sold to the Ukraine. At this point, it does not appear Zelensky's on their nose that Trump has quietly, and he should know, quietly suspended $250,000 in aid to the Ukraine. He did it, the reporting is, about a week before this. The common sense would say he did this on purpose. No, he's going to use it as a carrot or a stick, depending on this conversation. So you got it. Zelensky going, you're the greatest, not 100%, 130% you've been there. And then here comes the ask. Here comes, we've been good to you. Now it's time for you to be good to us. And it's so on the nose, folks. I couldn't believe this. I could not believe when I read this. I literally said, this can't be real. So Trump goes, we've been so good to you. And Zelensky goes, yes, you have been. Trump goes, quote, I would like you to do us a favor. Do you think that favor has something to do with like trade policy, national security issues, immigration? No. This favor is not in the interest of the United States of America. The favor I'm going to read you, the favor Trump asked, was in the interest of one person, Donald J. Trump, because it's always about Trump. He goes, I would like you to do us a favor because our country has been through a lot and Ukraine knows a lot about it. I would like you to find out what happened with this whole situation with Ukraine. They say CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike was just the company that does like online security that went for the DNC and went in there and found the attack. This is sort of that's not what he's really concerned about because he's getting to next what he's getting to. And he blobbers on about CrowdStrike and he adds the server. And he's talking about Hillary's server. He goes, they say the Ukraine has it. Why would the Ukraine have it? I don't know. Okay. But it doesn't matter because that's not what his real ask is. His real ask is coming. That's the game. That's sort of like selling someone a condo, timeshare. You show them the bad properties first and you get to the good one. This is what Trump is really about. And he goes, I would like to have the Attorney General call your people, and I would like you to get the bottom of it. And then he goes on to say, as you saw yesterday, that whole nonsense ended with a very poor performance by a man named Robert Mueller, an incompetent performance. But they say a lot of it started with the Ukraine. Whatever you can do, it's very important that what you do, if that is possible. So Trump is talking about Robert Mueller, former FBI director, to the leader of another country, bad-mouthing him. That's life. Saying, I would like you to do us a favor. But we're not at the big favor yet, because what Trump is really about, he's calling about Biden. We know this. I didn't expect to see Biden's name in this. So Zelensky goes, yes, it's very important for me and everything you mentioned earlier. And he goes, we are great friends. And you, Mr. President, are friends in our country, so we can continue our strategic partnership. I also plan to surround myself with great people. In addition to that investigation, I guarantee you, as the president of Ukraine, that all investigations will be done openly and candidly. So here we go. Donald Trump has got his guy. It's like the snake who's just slowly slithering around and has the poor creature who doesn't know any better, a little creature, little cute creature maybe. And here it comes. So you've got Zelensky going, I guarantee as president of Ukraine, all investigation will be done openly and candidly. And what does the snake say? Good. Because I heard you had a prosecutor who was very good and he was shut down, and that's really unfair. That prosecutor, folks, he's referring to was March 2016. That's when Joe Biden pushed to have that prosecutor fired on behalf of the U.S. government, IMF, and other European leaders. March 2016. Trump talks about it like it was yesterday, but it's not. I heard very good, and this prosecutor shut down really unfair. He goes to his normal line. A lot of people are talking about it, which means bullshit, because a lot of people are talking about it. The way they shut down your very good prosecutor down, and you had some very bad people involved. And now here comes his buddy. Mr. Giuliani's a highly respected man. He was mayor of New York City, a great mayor, and I would like him to call you. I will ask him to call you along with the Attorney General. Rudy very much knows what's happening, and he's a very capable guy. If you could speak to him, that would be great. And then it comes. Here it comes. A few more blubbering words, and we get to what this whole phone call is about. The phone call that comes on the day of a poll that shows Trump down by 10 points, the day after Robert Mueller testifies, and that is over. Here it comes. The other thing he says, there's a lot of talk about Biden's son. That Biden stopped the prosecution. A lot of people want to find out about that. So whatever you can do with the Attorney General would be great. You know, Biden went around bragging that he stopped the prosecution. So if you can look into it, I mean, it sounds horrible to me. Unbelievable. So you got Donald Trump saying a lot of people are talking about this Joe Biden firing a prosecutor. March 2016, the prosecutor's fired. Donald Trump's asking about it for the first time in July 2019. Folks, look, the only reason he's asking about it is very simple. We're in the middle of a campaign. If we weren't, why didn't Donald Trump talk about this in January of 2017 to the former head of the Ukraine? Why didn't he bring it up in 2018? Why didn't he bring it up in the phone call in April 2019 when he first called the President Zelensky and congratulated him? Why didn't he bring it up then? Because Joe Biden was not beating Donald Trump in any polls. The campaign was not where it is today. Again, a poll July 25th came out, Trump down by 10, lashes out on Twitter about that very poll, calls the Ukraine, goes, and I know, you know his thinking. He's like, we got to do something about this. I'm losing to Biden. What are we going to do? Let's go back to the Ukraine. Because don't forget, in May, Rudy Giuliani was talking publicly about going to the Ukraine and trying to get dirt. And he got a lot of pushback on that. So Zelensky responds to this whole thing about Biden. He goes, I want to tell you about the prosecutor. First of all, I understand, and I'm knowledgeable about the situation. And since we have now an absolute majority in our parliament, our next prosecutor will be 100% my person, my candidate. And they will start as a prosecutor in September. And he or she will look into the situation specifically to the company that you mentioned in this issue. And from there, a little back and forth, Trump continues 2 other times bringing up Bill Barr and Rudy Giuliani going, I will have Mr. Giuliani give you a call. And I'm also going to have the Attorney General, Bill Barr, give you a call. We'll get to the bottom of it. Why would Bill Barr, our Attorney General, be involved in investigating crimes, if they are crimes, in March 2016 that occurred then in a foreign country? There's no reason for it. No reason whatsoever, except Bill Barr is Donald Trump's lawyer, not the Attorney General for the United States of America, and Trump knows that. And he goes on to say, I'm sure you will figure it out. I heard the prosecutor was treated very badly. So he brings that up again. And he was a very fair prosecutor. So good luck with everything. That's just a lie. The prosecutor was so bad, the IMF and European leaders wanted him out because he was not prosecuting corruption the way they wanted him to. And then Trump adds this, your economy is going to get better and better, I predict. Oh, why do you think it's going to get better? Because you're going to release $400 million in aid, $250 million in military, and $147 million in State Department aid because this guy's playing ball? Yep, that's why. And Zelensky goes back. Zelensky mentions, last time I traveled to the U.S., I stayed at the Trump Tower. Boom, thank you for the emolument violation. That's just a bonus for Congress to investigate that one. And Trump goes, good, very well, thank you, I appreciate it. And again, I'll tell Rudy and Bill Barr to call you because Bill Barr is my poodle and Rudy is my pug dog. I think he's to be a pug. In any event, no offense to pugs or poodles. Folks, I did not expect this insanity, this over the top. You got Trump going, we got to do so much for you. We help your people all the time. No one else, Europe doesn't do it. We do it. But it's not reciprocal. And Zelensky, who's a little guy, goes, oh, yeah, well, we're going to change it. Good. What we're talking about is I got a favor. Literally says I got a favor. Literally, I've got a favor. Not subtly, comes up organically in a conversation. And not that this phone call was about 12 other things. It was about one thing, folks. It was about getting dirt on Joe Biden in violation of Federal Election Commission laws. That's all this was about. And he goes, okay, do me a favor. He's like, whatever you want, because Russia, Putin, your buddy, who helped you get elected, he is encroaching on our territory, and we need this aid because our country has an existential threat. So whatever you want, I'll do. He goes, good. You know what? You're going to be rich. Your economy's going to get more better than you ever thought. You're going to get all the weapons you need. Bill Barr and Rudy Giuliani, my poodle and pug, will call you later and take care of it all. And he's like, bingo. I will say as a lawyer, this is outrageous. This is insane. As common sense, we all know this is crazy. But let's hear a couple of professionals. Then we're going to take a break and we're going to hear from you and your reaction. Here's Adam Schiff today, the chair of the House Intel Committee, a former federal prosecutor who's a measured man, and just talking about how damning the memorandum was of the phone conversation, which I can't believe he didn't laugh, because I have to laugh. It's just ridiculous. Clip number one.
Notes of the call between the President of the United States and the President of Ukraine, as well as the legal opinion drafted by the Department of Justice in an effort to prevent the whistleblower complaint from coming to our committee. And I have to say that I'm shocked by both. The notes of the call reflect a conversation far more damning than I or many others had imagined. It is shocking at another level that the White House would release these notes and felt that somehow this would help the president's case or cause.
And then he goes on to explain, and this is again a former federal prosecutor, a man who's dealt with criminals and mob-type people, exactly what this is like based on his experience. Clip number two, Adam Schiff.
Because what those notes reflect is a classic mafia-like shakedown of a foreign leader, a president of the United States, who immediately after the Ukraine president expresses the need for further weapons, tells the Ukraine president that he has a favor to ask. The president communicates to his Ukrainian counterpart that the United States has done a lot for Ukraine. We've done an awful lot for Ukraine, more than the Europeans or anyone else has done for Ukraine. But there's not much reciprocity here. This is how a mafia boss talks. What have you done for us? We've done so much for you, but there's not much reciprocity. I have a favor I want to ask you. And what is that favor? Of course, the favor is to investigate his political rival, to investigate the Bidens.
Look, I'm half Sicilian, okay? I'm from Jersey. I know how these guys talk. I love The Godfather. I love Donnie Brasco. I've seen all the movies, my friends. Even the word reciprocity is something you would see in a mob movie where a mob guy is trying to use big words to sound smart, going, we do all this for you, and what do you don't do reciprocity. The reciprocity, the reciprocity. Yeah, that's what I meant. Reciprocity, you're not doing that for us. That's what this is. It's almost laughable, and it would be funny if it was not the man in the White House selling out our country, abusing power to benefit himself at the expense of our nation. It would be funny. And here's another federal prosecutor, former prosecutor, who's not in Congress, who's not a Democrat, Ellie Hoening, who's on CNN, very fair guy, today about what he saw after going through this memorandum of the phone call and the crimes. And he touched on something really important. He talks about cases he has tried and prosecuted and arrested people for less than what he read in this memorandum. Here's clip number 3, please.
I do see potential federal crimes here. I see potential bribery, potential extortion, and potential receipt of foreign election aid, all of which are federal crimes. But keep in mind, you do not need a crime in order to impeach. Impeachment can and historically has been based on abuse of power.
I would like you to do us a favor, though, because our country has been through a lot and Ukraine knows a lot about it. And then the U.S., as we know, froze. The Trump administration froze over the summer hundreds of millions of dollars worth of aid. Of military aid. So just from those two graphs, what do you make of it?
Yeah, that is as close to a quid pro quo as you will get in real life. I've charged and tried bribery cases on less clear conversations than this. They're both laying the stakes out on the table. The president of Ukraine says, your aid, foreign aid, is invaluable to us. We need it for our defense, and we're getting ready to buy more equipment from the United States. And then Donald Trump's response, this is the most important line in the whole thing. Right after that, Donald Trump says, I would like you to do us a favor, though. So I'm laying it on the line. And what's that favor? There's no mincing words. I want you to look into Hillary Clinton. I want you to look into the bot.
So there you go. And quid pro quo is the term, something for something. It's Latin, but it just means, it's a bribe. You do this for me, I do this for you type of thing. Under federal bribery laws, you need quid pro quo. You need that exchange of something. It's never, and I like that Ellie pointed out, in real world, it's never or almost never this black and white where it's like, here's this, you do this for me as an official. In the old days, it was. It's not usually like that now. And it's put together by all the facts. The way the courts have looked at it, it's the totality of the facts. That's what they'll look at. That's why I try to go back and give you like a big picture view of this. Because a court, and first it would go to a judge and for an indictment from a prosecutor and a grand jury. From a legal point of view, they look at the totality of the facts to determine if there's a quid pro quo. It's not this one conversation. There's a lot more that goes into it. And I've got to just say this before we go to a break. It's not just Donald Trump facing potential criminal charges. It is Rudy Giuliani. It is potentially Bill Barr, who is invoked in this memorandum over and over and over. Now, Bill Barr, to be clear, has denied a short time ago that he did anything for Donald Trump. I don't believe anything Bill Barr says. Bill Barr will have to come before Congress under oath to say that, and at the expense of potentially perjury if he were to lie. Someone else might be implicated. Might be. I don't want to get people too excited. That person is Mike Pence. And I say this because I sit around and connect the dots during the day. And here I want the rest of the media to start connecting them as well. You've got July 25th, this phone call that goes on. Corruption is the word. That's what they use. Corruption, investigate. The money for the Ukraine government has not been released yet. It was not released until about September 10th or 11th. What happened on September 2nd? After that phone call, before the release of the money, September 2nd, Mike Pence goes to Europe, meets with the president of Ukraine. I will read from the Mike Pence's actual statement. He said, I would carry back to President Trump the progress that he, talking about the Ukrainian president, and his administration in Ukraine are making on dealing with corruption in their country. So is that statement there, I'm going to go back to President Trump and tell him how great the Ukrainian president is doing on corruption? Does that mean he's doing the investigation Donald Trump wants, and that's why a week later the money is released? Did Mike Pence not know on July 25th of this phone call where Bill Barr's name and Rudy Giuliani's name are brought up, and Joe Biden, they talk about Joe Biden? It's very hard for me to believe Mike Pence did not know about that conversation. And if he did know about it and didn't go forward, that's a different issue. But Mike Pence might have some answers, and he has some answers he has to give us. I'm not saying he's involved in the criminal conspiracy here, but if he knew about it and he went over, met with the president of Ukraine, goes, how's that corruption thing going? Sort of like Code, like in the tapes, the Godfather stuff. How's the corruption thing going? Going great. Good. I'm going to tell the boss about it. I bet your country will be doing pretty well when I come back. And a week later, the money's flowing. It's hard to believe in coincidences in criminal conspiracies. That is really hard to believe it's a coincidence. But I don't have the evidence, so I'm measured on that. This is where we are. Donald Trump has committed a crime. There's no doubt. Impeachment is here. Abuse of power. You can impeach him on that. End the crime of violating Federal Election Commission laws knowingly and willfully. Felony. Bribery, we got to prove that. I think we're going to. Not positive. I think we're going to. Rudy Giuliani, a co-conspirator in a felony. Bill Barr, maybe, maybe not. Mike Pence, maybe, maybe not, but they're implicated in this circle. And it's not a surprise. Look at the people who Donald Trump has surrounded himself with. Michael Cohen, in prison. Paul Manafort, in prison. Rick Gates, deputy campaign manager, in prison. Michael Flynn, convicted felon, on the verge of going to prison. George Papadopoulos, campaign advisor, went to prison. Roger Stone, about to go on trial. This is Donald Trump's world. Criminals. Criminals and Donald Trump has escaped accountability his entire life. Until now, I think now we're here. My God, if we didn't start impeachment yesterday, I'd be screaming today. Everyone would be upset with me. All right, let's take a break. You're my guest right to the top of the hour. And by the way, breaking news on the whistleblower. When we come back, I'll tell you a little bit more from what we're hearing right after this on the Dean Obeidallah Show. At this point, the question is not who connected to Donald Trump as a criminal. The question is anyone connected to